Late January, I made a video going over my experience purchasing parts and an iPod from Austin at Elite Obsolete Electronics. For those unfamiliar, Austin runs one of, if not the largest, aftermarket parts stores for iPods. In response to that video, he suggested we do an interview. He graciously sat down and gave me 3 hours of his time answering every question I could come up with. If there was ever something you wanted to know about Elite Obsolete Electronics or the man himself, there's a good chance that this interview will answer that question. There is way too much footage for me to be able to make one long video. So for today, I'm going to show you our first conversation, where we sat down and watched my video together, going over it step by step, piece by piece. Please remember to like, leave a comment on what you think of the video, and show Austin some love by subscribing to his channel now or at the end of the video for having so much patience and being such a cool dude in general. Hope you enjoy. There's more where this came from. Let's get to the video now. As this community grows and grows, its needs have grown. People have gone from wanting working iPods, basically battery replacements, screen replacements, the things that commonly die, to people wanting things like what Austin at EOE is providing. Completely custom, bespoke devices. It's no surprise that they cost a boutique price. But what are you buying? Are you buying a fully bespoke, brand new product? No. What you're buying is a used iPod that is being transferred into a bunch of parts that came from the same Chinese factories that everyone is getting them from. Meaning...
Okay.
Yeah, you want to touch on that? Sure.
Yeah, well, not to defend myself.
No.
But I think we're on the same page here to that. I think people just want iPods. That's the bottom line. And you can definitely buy used, but I don't trust 15-year-old lithium-ion batteries, and neither should you.
Well, and this is it. Every single one in my collection has one of your batteries in it, so there you go.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about that?
And this is one of the inferences I've made, but from what I've seen of other people's builds on things like Reddit and where they're saying they're sourcing parts from, and then from what I've seen on other retailers' pages, it looks like to me that they are coming from a singular source. And what I mean by that is not necessarily one factory, but at least one blueprint that maybe a bunch of factories are using at the least. So that's more... as you can see, a mouthful, but yeah, more what I mean there. And,
to my knowledge, there's one factory that produces these parts. Well, I guess I should say, I don't know how to put it. I don't know if the factory that produces new faceplates is the same factory that produces new backplates, but I know there's only one, and all of the parts come from the single source. Basically, there's a single source.
I don't know if there are other places that make faceplates, or you would assume it would all come from China, and you would also assume that because the market isn't that big, that there would only be one factory, but can't say for sure.
Yeah, they all have the same little holographic Chinese sticker.
Okay.
I don't know if you'd be interested in looking at one of them, but
yeah, sure, pull it out if it's not too much trouble.
No, you'll look at it and you'll be like, oh, I recognize that.
Yeah, we've all seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Cool.
Yeah, so that's a clue. I'm not too familiar with what goes on in China, but for the majority of the new parts that I sell, they're no different than the parts anyone else sells. And I haven't claimed otherwise. It's just a reality of the industry.
And maybe I didn't make that clear enough, because I didn't mean this in any way as a dig against you guys, because it's exactly how you said. It's the same from any other iPod refurbishment sort of deal, right? They're all coming from the same place, no matter who you're picking them up from.
You're talking about it's a used iPod that is converted into his bespoke new iPod.
Sure.
That is somewhat true.
Okay.
In the sense that the logic board is original. They're not producing logic boards anymore, even in China.
Right, and that's what I would have meant by used, right? The board is coming from, whether it be a thrashed or just another iPod, and then that's the base for everything else to get plugged into. Yeah.
Logic boards, though, we do refurbish them in-house.
Oh, no way.
It's on an as-needed basis, so if we find one that has a dock that has bent pens, I've got new docks, we can solder it on there. Audio, I see, fails on a iPod video. We can swap it out. Broken latches, battery terminal, anything like that. And obviously it's warranty, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's refurbished, right?
Yeah, like I do the same thing, right? If there's nothing wrong with the audio circuit, don't touch it.
The warranty covers the ones that we refurbished, the logic boards that we actually had our hand in fixing. It also covers ones that were just used pulls. It covers these LCDs that come from God knows where that I have, It's not necessarily me like RMAing with the factory. It's sort of out-of-pocket warranty. Yeah, sure. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's same as any other like laptop repair place that offers a warranty or any other device you might get serviced, right? I guess not any other. There are definitely places that might return to a factory, especially like a big box store that does service. But I think any independent repair technician that's doing work for you, it's understood that when they're warrantying something, that means they're either going to fix it out of pocket when something breaks or replace the unit for you and then sort of take the hit.
The warranty is my own.
Right.
Like I'm not given a warranty from a supplier and then that's being passed on, and that's not the case.
No, and that's an important distinction because there are places that do that where, like, for example, I mean, my only experience with something like this would be like airsoft. A lot of times stores that offer a warranty on any sort of airsoft products, what that means is the company that actually makes the product is what offers the warranty, and the retailer, basically you go through the retailer to redeem your warranty, but you're basically sitting for months and months and you have no communication, and it's awful. It's because of the quality standards that can happen.
Quality standards, there's a few things to touch on. So in terms of, I've had parts sold to customers that were new parts, that they were sealed when they were sent out, and they turned out to be defective.
Sure.
Unfortunately. And I've had people ask me, why don't you test parts before you send them out? And I do. But if something is sealed from the supplier and I have to unseal it and inspect it and test it, it would be
impossible.
Well, it'd be time, but it would be no longer new.
Also that, yeah. But I guess what I mean is I think it's unrealistic for anyone to expect a company to unpackage brand new product and test. Like, you might batch test something where you get a whole shipment and you maybe test like a few out of that batch. But
iPod video faceplate, they can come with little tiny micro scratches already on there.
Yep.
I'm not sure where they come from, but it seems to be part of the manufacturing process.
Same with backplates.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll have stuff kind of stuck to the inside of the screen lens, and you hate to see it, of course, and that would be covered.
Sure.
But I can't just sit there and, peel off the thing and look for scratches or take out the LCD thing. And but I think you were trying to get at something different.
No, actually, that is exactly what I was trying to get at. Is I actually, the only parts I think I have ordered from a place other than you is things like faceplates, and I've gotten them brand new. I wasn't sure if it was shipping or not, but I've gotten them brand new with scratches. So, and I basically have to tell people that now when they go, hey, like, I got an old video. I've had a few people ask me to fix them. And like, the first thing I go is, man, your faceplate is just wrecked. Do you want a new one? And then I always have to preface. I'm like, just so you know, though, new ones aren't like the old ones. They're not as premium feeling. They can sort of pick up the light different, and you might have a few little scratches on it already. It's not going to look like it did when it came from Apple. It's going to be a little different, but here's mine, which is actually yours, by the way. And this is like kind of what you can expect. And most people understand and take it from there. So
yeah, people like to crap on the new faceplates, but I've unboxed a few new iPod videos and iPod Nano 1s with the same like finish. It's the same faceplate, just a different mold. And I was surprised at how quickly they micro scratch.
I was gonna say, I think what people mostly pick up on, well, and maybe they don't know how to describe it, is like a thing I've noticed with the originals versus the aftermarkets is sort of like, I don't want to say the smoothness, but like how they pick up the light. Like if you take like a natural Apple original faceplate and you kind of like move it around the light, it's picked up evenly and thrown out evenly. Like I've had black replacement faceplates that you do the same thing with. DankPods might have done this actually once before too. Like when he bought like a sketchy like aftermarket iPod from that was trying to look new or whatever. Anyway,
the
back, it picks up the light and it looks like a clown house mirror. It's like it's wavy. It doesn't it's not the same. You know what I mean?
Like almost as if it's sort of like I don't know, not flat.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that.
It is hard to describe.
Yeah, unfortunately, the new aftermarket ones aren't perfect, but they are the best option that we have. So, yeah, and ultimately, you also have to consider that these aftermarket iPod parts, at least the cosmetic ones, are sort of being manufactured in a legal gray area where they're not authorized by Apple, of course, right? And I don't know if you'll be able to pick this up.
We can try.
But you have an original iPod video?
I do.
Like that,
yeah, the one I showed you in our messages there. That's full original. Yeah.
Yeah. So on these faceplates, this is original Apple. You definitely won't be able to pick it up, but you'll know what I mean when there's your black plastic and then there's sort of the clear coat, the finish. Yeah. Right. Show the viewers.
You can kind of make it out. The bottom one is
it's a lot thinner.
The bottom one's the aftermarket, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, I can tell just by looking at it, and I'm looking at an even smaller window than the viewers would be. So yeah, but I guess that's kind of all I was trying to get at is like quality standards, not so much in the sense that you're skimping on your duties in the transaction, but more so that these things are coming from these places just at a lower standard than what Apple did. And I think that should be obvious to anyone who's looking at aftermarket stuff for something this old. Someone being sleepy to miss something small. For example, I'm just going to pause here. That was directed at you.
Well, I can explain.
Okay.
When things like that happen, specifically that little dock bezel, if it cracks when you are closing it, it makes contact with the actual like dock connector on the logic board. It does happen. I look at it and is it still like in position? Does it retain its shape, right?
Yeah.
And then I think to myself, you have to weigh, is it going to be worth replacing that dock bezel at the sacrifice of leaving a few marks on the faceplate and the backplate from having to open it again?
Yeah. And I would say no. And I gotta ask though, is that like a tolerance difference between the original shells and the aftermarket stuff that you think causes that? I understand that's speculation, but just the age of the plastic.
It's just the way that they get closed. I always try and start to close at the top so that the bottom can sit in nicely, but every time you close it, it's going to be at a slightly different angle.
Sure,
it's brittle plastic that's 16, 17 years old.
And that's what I was going to say is like every one I've worked on, that is the most delicate area because that plastic is just waiting. I got to save this. I should write this down. Whatever. It's fine. Okay, moving on. My iPod 5.5 Gen, later, 256 gig, custom bespoke from EOE. Came with a cracked charging bezel. No big deal. And a headphone jack that anytime you interacted with it made a bunch of electronic noise. I don't want to roast you
in front of your viewers, but that is a whack-ass color combo.
A whack-ass color combo? On my keyboard, you mean?
No, the yellow and gold.
Really?
And you too as well?
It's the golden nugget, man.
That's
thought that was
one of the ugliest iPods I've ever seen.
I love it.
It's true.
I got it by my desk.
It's unique. I'll give you that.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have figured that would have been a popular choice. You think it's ugly?
No. I think that I'm not a fan of fake gold.
And a headphone jack that anytime you interacted with it made a bunch of electronic noise. More of a big deal.
Yeah, the headphone jack. The headphone jack.
Yeah.
You sent me a message on Discord.
I did. I had fixed it
like last fall.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly. I didn't obviously want to put the DMs just because, there's nothing special in there, but...
No, I remember basically by the time I was able to sit down and, I've got it pulled up right here. But it doesn't pull me off.
I think I was just telling you, so I worded this not so great because I think I said I DM'd you about the problem, but really I DM'd you about the fact that I had fixed the problem, but just that it was a problem that...
Yes. Wow, it looks like I responded back immediately then.
You did. I was going to say, cool. You responded to me in 2 minutes.
Let me grab a headphone jack.
Sure. Oh yeah, I can point out to you
Yep. So
what I did. Yeah. So you see that pad on the left? Well, for me, the left. Basically the hold switch ground pad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The hold switch ground pad is what lifted for me. And it was causing, like, when you would not touch the iPod at all, like if you just were playing music on it, it would be fine. But if you, like, use the volume adjust or basically interact with it in any way, it would... You've ever heard, like, computer electronic noise, like when you move a mouse or whatever?
Of course.
Yeah, you'd get a lot of that. Interference, essentially. Yeah. You know what? It could have been something entirely different that actually was causing that problem. But when I opened it, the only thing I did is I noticed that pad was lifted, so I taped it back down with some Captain, and it was fine ever since. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think fixed it. But it really could have just been opening the shell that fixed it. Who knows? Oh, it was only in the left ear, too.
It can be hard to, like, nail down.
Yeah.
I've had people send iPods back for a similar issue, and I get the back, I can't hear anything. What I do when someone either complains about interference or the channels right and left not being the same volume, what I'll do is I'll plug it into the aux on the iPod, into aux cable, plug it into the microphone jack on my computer, and then record that line in and
like analyze the waveform,
inspect the peak amplitude and such. And also it's a great way to look for interference because it does show up, and I've caught a few like that. But I will have, not to say this is what happened with you, it seems like something very real happened, but sometimes people will return the iPods for interference or complaining about the variance in the audio levels, and I just cannot replicate it.
Ever since I did that, it's been crystal clear out of this thing. Like,
good.
I love it. Yeah, it's perfect now.
And just the nature of it. I don't know what equipment they're using. I don't know the quality of it. I don't know, if they're in a car at home, whatever, if it's plugged into an amplifier, if that amplifier is grounded properly.
Sure. There's a million
variables
hard to
that
could be there. Yeah.
Yep.
Signal path is one of the hardest things to diagnose for, no matter what trade you're in. Trust me, as a video tech, I know that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But before, we ended up going down any sort of resolution, I just fixed it. So this is where it was bad wording. I should have probably said I had no need for a resolution. But anyway. So what is my ultimate conclusion when it comes to my EOE electronics purchasing decisions? This is one man's work. One man. So take that into consideration when looking at this device as a personal purchase for yourself. Understand that if you don't know how to work on these, Elite Obsolete Electronics might be able to facilitate your need of providing you a finished example. But it might take work to get there. Whether that means reaching out through support channels to get a resolution if something arrives broken, or if that means learning how to fix it yourself when it arrives broken. So if you're going to do an order for something bespoke like this off EOE, you need to understand that it might not come perfect. It just might not. How you decide to deal with that is ultimately up to you. I recommend reaching out to Austin, but there have been times that I have noticed that he doesn't reach back out while still being active on social media. Make of that what you will. I put it to pretty understandable. The big question.
Okay.
Do we want to answer the big question now?
Well, one, I was going to say, because back then, I think, when you ordered it, it was a one-man operation.
Sure.
When this video was made,
quite a bit later.
January 26th. So okay, by that time, it wasn't just me. And now it isn't. Not to get into the weeds of the return policy and the warranty stuff, but any reason within 30 days, if an iPod arrives, if a part arrives, there's an imperfection, if it's cosmetic, if it's actually defective, within 30 days, or if you even just don't want it, if you thought it would be something different, if you wanted to use Spotify, whatever, 30 days, any reason, return, no questions asked, totally free of charge.
What more could people ask for?
Yeah, I guess it's just sort of a expectation thing contextually. Looking at the website, you don't know if it's a company with hundreds of technicians or if it's just going to be one guy in his basement, which it was. I guess I'll touch on this now. When I started doing this full time, April 2019, it was just me. And then up until the end of the summer, 2022, it was just me. And then I got some part-time help. And then I got some full-time help, but unfortunately, by the time the holiday season rolled around, that technician was no longer a part of the team. And we sort of grew to rely to get stuff done and sort of, you know what I mean? And basically the holiday season was set up to be a 2 or 3 man job. But I was left high and dry by myself, trying to find some help. And it was quite a struggle. But yeah, we got a full-time technician, Logan. You can see him in the YouTube videos. At the beginning of January, he wasn't trained up until probably mid-February. There's a lot of stuff on iPods, of course, and shipping stuff. And there were a few mistakes, a good handful, which is expected in training, and stuff like that will happen. It did happen. Maybe packing something negligently or not the right part, maybe different board or whatever. I caught a few of those things. So that's really where that was coming from. Okay. And then that would be an explanation for the holiday season. It was a nightmare. It was about the worst case scenario. Busier than anticipated and with less help.
Okay.
One thing that I really want to broadcast,
sure.
On the website, I'd love if you could put some kind of like screen grab in here. Yeah, but this is only for US customers. If you go to product support in the footer, click return an item, you type in your info, it's going to automatically be accepted. Prepaid labels automatically going to be generated for you. It's no additional cost to the customer. Instead of having to wait to reach out or wait for me to approve it, it's just automatically approved. You know, you can get the ball going. And that's something I actually changed after watching that video.
Oh, no way. I was going to say, like, you know, I've tried to help out in the EOE Discord as much as I can. That's sort of what inspired me to make these videos, is I've noticed a lot of the same questions. Not so much this one, but more so my previous kind of guide style ones. So not to mention that you're always respectful, polite, all of that sort of stuff, and timely for a lot of people, getting them at least, you know, shipping is what it is. Queue is what it is. But as far as answering their questions and getting their minds at ease and getting them started in, don't worry about it, here's what we're going to do to fix it sort of ways, you guys have been amazing. And that was, you know, I do want to shout out, like, I don't know if that's okay with her, but Lucy, I assume Lucy in the Discord, a few other people, I'm going to forget names. So let's just say your Discord people are amazing.
The moderators.
Yes, your moderators. How you decide to deal with that is ultimately up to you. I recommend reaching out to Austin, but there have been times that I have noticed.
There's a few things behind that. Number one would have been the last holiday season, where I was just sort of fucked.
Yeah, that's fair.
Number two is sometimes people will post on Reddit about this issue, that issue. I reached out, I haven't yet. And when I respond to them, they contact me privately and I respond to them privately. So a lot of the reports on Reddit, Discord, where people are talking about, I haven't heard back, I reached out, that's not going to be resolved in terms of like, that's not going to be resolved in the public sphere.
Sure.
So you would never know just from looking at that Reddit post, because I'm not going to respond to the comments, you know, trying to give this guy customer support. I'm going to respond to the private email.
Sure.
So a lot of this stuff, it may look like I just never get back to people, but it's just not being done in public.
I don't have receipts, and I don't necessarily expect you to be accountable to a few people in a Discord, but in your own Discord, more what gave me this impression was there were a few people, like it felt like there was a time there where your moderators were sort of getting dogpiled. There were people going like, hey, I have X issue, I've reached out to Austin, or I haven't. They go reach out to him, right? And then they do, and then whether it's, you know, a few days later or maybe a week later, they're back in the chat with like, hey, I reached out then, and I still haven't heard anything. Two more, another week or two went by, and I was noticing the same sort of people because I was kind of in there every few days or whatever. And again, this was right around the holiday season. So not a surprise. But they were like, oh, I haven't heard anything from him. He hasn't been active. Like, he's never been on. And then like one of those guys went and took a screenshot of your Twitter and be like, he posted to Twitter though, or something like that, right? And like that's what gave me this mindset, I guess, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah, so scenarios like that do happen.
Well,
that's what I was trying to say. Number one, I was just in a bad situation mentally. I mean, there's only so much time in the day. There's only so much energy, and I'm already working 20, 24-hour shifts basically every day. So, I'm maxed out. As far as posting stuff on Twitter, it's sort of the workflow most of the time. In the mornings, I'll get my mail, stuff that I bought that's arriving in my mailbox. I'll open it. If I find something cool, I'll snap a picture, send it to Twitter. And then I have to put that stuff away, and then I'll go and look at people's orders. I'll, blah, blah, blah. And I have to get through each one of these tasks individually. And sometimes checking my email doesn't happen until many hours after I've opened the mail and found something cool that I wanted to post on Twitter. Spend like 20 seconds snapping a pic and
and I think that's reasonable, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't think that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's the explanation for it. I don't know if it's something that you actually want to include in the video because it kind of seems like the way that normal people live their lives. If that makes sense. I don't know. Doing one thing at a time.
I think the way you put it makes a lot of sense. This is part of a scheduled part of what you're doing as part of the healthy workflow of keeping your workshop in order. But people see online time the same, right? People see you posting something on Twitter at this date as, oh, that was a date he could have been on Discord. It's like...
People don't know if I have someone else to do that for me. If I have 2 people, 3 people, whatever. I don't know. It's awesome that I get to share what I do with other people who think it's cool. And I feel like it would be a shame for me to not, post cool stuff on Twitter or post YouTube videos just about what I do, because what I do is pretty cool. And it would suck to not be able to share that with people.
Yeah, I agree completely. I love looking at your videos and your posts, and again, the more tight-knit our community is, I think the better it is. But yeah, if I said anything else really relevant, but burnout, but I'm totally speculating.
A lot of
the reality of the situation, it's fair, is that you might end up dissatisfied. It's possible. I had enough technical knowledge to repair my issue and ended up very satisfied. There are people who have ordered with no problems whatsoever. Actually, almost perfect units, or close, like as close as you can get with a ultimately used device. No problems. I've also had people order just parts, simple replacement parts that should be in perfectly new working order with damage. Shipping, who knows, but damage. Or getting shipped the wrong product, for example. That has happened as well. And of course, this happens with any company. It's to be expected. Things arrive dead on arrival all the time. Things arrive broken all the time. Things arrive as the wrong thing all the time. At the end of the day, we all rely on companies like Elite Obsolete Electronics to make products that are compatible with our niche. And at the end of the day, if it wasn't for places like Elite Obsolete Electronics, people wouldn't have an interest in these like they do, because people who make content on this that get people hyped up enough. Really? You don't think people would have as much?
No.
I don't know, man. I disagree.
I didn't make the iPod. I didn't make the iPod what it is.
No. I should say
millions of people about it.
I guess what I mean by...
I'm just trying to keep it alive.
I guess what I mean by interest is interest in buying something like this, right? I mean, people only get this interest when they see it's possible, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do I put this? If I didn't know that something like this was possible with modern iPods, from the storage upgrades to the audio upgrades to whatever, to the physical upgrades, I wouldn't care. I got an iPhone,
Fair
right?
Enough. Yeah.
I think the reason I care about iPods now is because there's an aftermarket, right? Same way people wouldn't give a shit about, like, I don't know, the Nissan 240Z or whatever car it is, right? If there wasn't that Need for Speed Underground, aftermarket there, that, you know, that's what I'm trying to say. To where millions of people have an interest in this, enough to spawn the fact millions might have been an exaggeration. But
so is this millions of people?
When I say millions,
you know what you were trying to say?
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, you can find videos about iPods on the internet that have over 1 million views. Enough interest to watch a video about iPods. More so what I mean. So it's a bit of an exaggeration in this context.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right.
That have made the products that allow us to make bespoke products like this. Allow us. I don't know what I meant. Anyway. All of that is a feeding cycle. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is something about the way people interact in this space bugged me. There are people who don't give companies like Obsolete Electronics enough slack, and there are people who give them too much slack, saying that they can do no wrong. And I think we all know that neither of those realities are what's actually happening. Neither of those opinions are reality. The reality is that this is a company that is growing very fast on the backs of million subscriber YouTube channels, pumping devices that are finite and over 20 years old, or close to 20 years old. The reality is that in that scenario, imperfection is expected.
You were really fair.
And
that's all I ask for people.
I try to be
fair and honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what really matters, right? I guess the last thing from the video was about the promotion of the business, not promotion.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? The million subscriber YouTube channels. I'm interested to hear what you think about it in terms of, like, what do you think I do? Like, I don't know.
How do you mean? Like, what do you, like, as
in
far
terms
as
of promoting the business?
I said has grown on the backs of million subscriber YouTube channels, essentially. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to touch on, like,
maybe that's a little unfair, but
no, I mean, it's totally fair. Wade, DankPods, I wouldn't be here without him. He made this whole dang thing possible. So thank you, Wade. But what I wanted to say was, it was not a promotion or a sponsorship. No money changed hands. It was just sort of
this statement. I'm not trying to discredit the work you've obviously put into the business. And two, this does kind of come off as a little backhanded, like growing fast off the backs of can be considered like, meaning without that thing, you would never have succeeded, or it has negative connotation.
It's true.
But that's not what I mean. What I mean by that is like I understand the process, right? You know, any YouTuber, but let's just use Wade, right? He has to order parts, he gets them from you, he gets great service, everything works out, so he shouts you out. Not because you asked him to, just because things worked out well. And because he happens to be a huge YouTuber, that causes growth. That is what I'm referring to here, but I didn't really do it in a very graceful way.
At the time he wasn't, but way the world works. I guess what I wanted to say, condensed. I don't sponsor people. I don't pay for promotions. I don't buy ads, nothing like that. I don't even send marketing emails.
Yeah, you don't, actually.
No, of course not. I hate that.
I actually
so
like that.
Every time that you see my the business, Elite Obsolete Electronics, being name dropped or shouted out, it's all organic.
Mm-hmm. I think
if it was that easy where I could just pay people to say nice things about the business, I don't know. I wouldn't want to live in that world.
Well, people see
It'd be very deceptive too.
One, people see right through that. Two, it doesn't work. Well, that's why people see right through it. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You're flushing money down the toilet. Yeah. And I knew that when I started. I don't pay people to shill for me or say nice things about me. That's it. Yeah, just not at all. Never, by the way. Never.
Cool. Yeah, don't change.
I'll try my best not to.
Yeah. Well, it would be to your detriment. So, like I said, you're doing everything right. Well, guys, I hope you'll admit that was pretty great for part 1, but we got much more to come, so stay tuned to the channel. And again, please, if you guys haven't checked out Austin from EOE's channel, do so now. I'm going to have it linked here at the end of the video. And yeah, remember, like, comment, subscribe if you care. See you next time. Peace.